Hello, folks. We're going to be looking at Boys and Girls by Alice Munro. We're going to be focusing on the aspect of identity, which is the name. So we are given names sometimes, and sometimes we make our own. Sometimes we name others. The first quote we're going to look at is pertaining to the foxes. The foxes were not named when they were born, but when they survived the first year's pelting and were added to the breeding stock. So they do not get their name until they are ready to breed. To breed means to essentially produce a family. So this reflects how individuals are labeled and defined by what role they fill in a family. The foxes do not choose their names, and they are not ready to receive a name or label until they enter the breeding process, the process of reproduction, the process of family. Bearing that in mind, we're going to look at two characters in particular, the father and mother. Similarly, these characters do not have names. And these are not really names, but labels, defining what they are expected to do and what role they are expected to fill in the household. The mother is limited in terms of what she can do. She can no longer wear her hair down nor wear the dresses she wore when she was younger. Similarly, the father is now responsible to provide for the household, a job that the daughter recognizes as challenging, and a job that she is aware that she has made more difficult by trying to be free. The narrator is really one of the more interesting examples of the process of naming and the absence of it. So, like the foxes, her father butchers. The narrator is not named. She is potentially skinned. We know this is, and I am using that term because this is what happens to the foxes. She is potentially killed. She's at least in the sense of identity. However, she's given a new label. She receives the label of girl. Originally, when we see this term crop up, the father has a different treatment of it than he does towards the end. Could have fooled me, said the salesman. I thought it was only a girl. Now, first, the father defends against this label. He says that she's their new field hand. The mother says, it's not like I had a girl in the family at all. And the mother recognizes how she does not fit this label as well. So right now she is crafting her own identity. A girl was not, as I suppose, simply what I was. It was what I had to become. Again, this is that idea of a label actualizing a reality. You become what you are called. The narrator begins to understand the significance of this label while still fighting against it. Right after this, we hear the description that the grandmother gives of what a woman, a lady, is expected to do. She's only a girl, he said. I didn't protest that. If in my heart, maybe it was true. Now, this is at the very end of the piece. This is after the father realizes that the narrator had let out Flora. The narrator accepts her role, and so does her father. And she has entered the breeding stock, quote unquote, as girl. And what that label represents, she is entering puberty, and she is ultimately being coerced into the expectations that go along with her gender. The foxes were beautiful for the delicate legs and heavy aristocratic tails, and the bright fur sprinkled on dark down their backs, which gave them their name. What gave them their names originally was their beautiful fur, a representation of their identity. This is stripped away from them. This is skinned, and they have to become, something else. They have to become either the mean rat-like objects, or their name eventually becomes something that the family gives when they enter the breeding stock. And again, this is an interesting parallel and mirror to what happens with the narrator. Laird is another interesting character here. His name means Lord, and though it is a name, it is really also a label. There's the association with nobility and strength and power. Her brother is labeled unlike her, and this labeling has advantages. He's able to spend time with his father. He seems to have some more autonomy, and he is also defined by what he's expected to become. We do not know what names the horses had before, so we called them Mac and Flora. Like the foxes, their identities are rewritten once they enter the home, and they are not in control of their names, labels, and identities. So we see this commonality throughout many of the characters and symbols throughout the text. The idea of not being able to choose your name, and how that impacts the choices that you will make. So again, the names are significant in this text, the absence of the names, and who gets to determine what those names and identities will be. Thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll be getting into another bit of analysis shortly.